Loosehead prop number 1. The loosehead prop wearing jersey number 1 is the big guy on the left side of the scrum who looks like he could bench press a family car before breakfast. His job is simple in theory, but brutal in reality. He binds onto the opposition tighthead, gets his shoulder under their ribs, and tries to turn the scrum into a blender. And he doesn't just push for fun, he pushes to wreck the other team's plans and turn their platform into a pile of regrets. In the scrum, he's half engine and half concrete wall, but outside of it, he doesn't get to relax because in open play, the loosehead prop becomes a human wrecking ball. He takes the ball and runs straight at whoever's unlucky enough to be standing in front of him. It's not graceful, it's not elegant, but it hurts. The number 1 also does the dirty work that doesn't get mentioned in the post-match interviews. He cleans out rucks like a wrecking crew, clears the path for the flashy backs, and gets up to do it all over again without a single complaint. To thrive in this position, you need a thick neck, tree trunk legs, and a pain threshold higher than most people's rent. Mobility matters too, because if you can't get up quickly after a hit or shuffle into position for another ruck, you'll find yourself replaced by someone who can. And if you're looking for an example of loosehead greatness, just look at Tendai Mtawarira. They called him the Beast, as he was known for blowing up scrums, smashing through tackles, and carrying with enough power to shift the earth itself. Hooker. Number 2. Right in the middle of all the chaos is the hooker, wearing the number 2 shirt and gritting his teeth through another messy scrum. This guy doesn't just survive the pressure, he thrives in it. His name comes from his ability to literally hook the ball back in the scrum with his foot. This sounds simple until you realize he's doing it while locked between 2 powerhouses trying to fold him like laundry. In the line-out, the hooker becomes a part-time quarterback, as he needs to throw a ball that weighs almost nothing with pinpoint accuracy in the middle of wind, pressure, and teammates shouting 15 different calls. One bad throw, and the other team is off to the races. Physically, hookers are shaped like battering rams. They're shorter than the props, but usually thicker and more explosive. They tackle anything that moves, smash into rucks, and pop up all over the field, doing the gritty stuff no one volunteers for. They also need great awareness, good handling, and a scary amount of aggression that's somehow still legal. Some modern hookers blur the line between front row brute and ball handling genius. Take Dane Coles, for example, who completely redefined the position. He could throw laser-guided darts at the line-out, sprint like a back, and offload like a magician. This guy didn't just survive in the trenches, he escaped them and danced through open space like he forgot he was wearing number 2. In short, the hooker does everything. He scrums, throws, tackles, carries, and occasionally scores a try just to rub it in. He's the glue in the forward pack, but with a bit more bite. Tighthead prop. Number 3. The tighthead prop is the big boss of the front row, and he wears the number 3 shirt, but this is not an easy position as he carries the weight of the world on his shoulders, quite literally. He's the poor soul who gets sandwiched between the opposition loosehead and hooker every time a scrum goes down. Now, if you've ever seen a collapsed scrum, just know this guy's spine probably met Jesus for a brief second before the ref blew the whistle. The tighthead's job is to anchor the entire right side of the scrum. He locks in, absorbs pressure, and makes sure the whole thing doesn't fold like a paper napkin. Think of him as the corner pillar of a building. If he crumbles, the rest of the structure follows. That's why tightheads are built like refrigerators with legs, shoulders like bowling balls, neck like a tree trunk, and a core so solid you could bounce a coin off it. But it's not just about scrums. Out in open play, the tighthead transforms into a bulldozer. He makes those ugly but beautiful low carries that rarely break the line but always wear down the defense. He's the guy who crashes into a wall of bodies, gains 2 meters, and then gets up with grass in his mouth like it's a normal Tuesday. In rucks, he becomes a wrecking ball, clearing out anything that moves or even thinks about contesting the ball. One of the best to ever wear this number was Owen Franks. The man didn't say much, but when the whistle blew, he became a living freight train. Franks didn't do flashy things. He was strong, unmovable, and was so good at his job that most fans never noticed him, which in a tighthead's world is the ultimate compliment. Because when nobody's talking about a tighthead prop, it means everything's going perfectly. Lock. Number 4. The number 4 lock is the skyscraper of the team. He's the one who ducks to enter a minibus and gets picked first for every line out. These guys are tall, tough, and surprisingly mobile for their size. In the scrum, they slot in right behind the props and push like their rent depends on it. Without their engine power, the scrum goes nowhere. But it's in the line-out where the number 4 truly shines. He's usually one of the main jumpers, getting lifted sky high to catch the ball or mess up the opponent's throw. This is not a free ride either. It takes timing, balance, and the reflexes of a hungry cat. Get it wrong, and you'll either drop the ball, get flipped like a pancake, or land somewhere painful. Out of set pieces, the number 4 plays a bruising role. He carries the ball like a man on a mission, smashing into defenders and dragging 2 or 3 tacklers just for fun. He's also a breakdown enforcer, arriving at the ruck to smash the party before it even starts. And when it comes to mauls, the number 4 is front and centre, leaning in with all his weight and pushing like a man possessed. A name that screams number 4 is Backy's Botha. That guy didn't play rugby. He waged war in a jersey. Botha was tough, terrifying, and took zero nonsense from anyone. He wasn't in the game for beauty, he was there for damage. Opponents feared him, teammates loved him, and referees watched him like hawks. In fact, if you looked up hard man in a rugby dictionary, his photo would probably be the one that pops up. Lock. Number 5. Here comes the number 5 lock, the other half of the skyscraper duo in the engine room. While number 4 is the team's wrecking ball, number 5 is the smoother, slightly faster version who can actually turn his neck without cramping. These two look almost identical in the team photo, but make no mistake, their personalities on the pitch often couldn't be more different. The number 5 still does all the grunt work like scrumming, line-out jumping, and ruck clearing, but he also tends to have just enough athleticism to occasionally look like he knows what he's doing with the ball. He has to blend the brawn of a front rower with the movement of a back rower, all while staying 6'7" and not falling over every time he runs. In line-outs, he's either flying through the air like a giraffe doing ballet, or helping to launch his teammate upward like a human trebuchet. Timing is everything, and when done right, it looks easy. When it goes wrong, it looks like a slow-motion train wreck. He's also expected to get around the field and make sure no one breaks through the middle without meeting his very large shoulder. Defensively, the number 5 often ends up filling the awkward spaces no one else wants to cover. He's part bodyguard, part insurance policy, and part battering ram. He won't always be the flashiest player, but when the team needs a solid platform or a last-ditch tackle, he usually shows up covered in mud, wheezing and very annoyed. One of the best ever in this role was Ireland's Paul O'Connell. He didn't just play rugby, he thought rugby. He could stare down an entire pack and make them think twice before challenging his line out. He led his team with a voice, a glare, and sometimes just a well-timed grunt. Smart, brutal, and always ready to bleed for the shirt. Paul made the number 5 shirt look like a commander's uniform. Blindside flanker, number 6. Now enter the blindside flanker, the guy who patrols the dark alleys of the rugby pitch where all the illegal stuff happens. Wearing number 6, he is the team's enforcer, firefighter, and part-time demolition expert. You'll usually find him charging at rucks like a human missile or putting in a hit so heavy it knocks the commentary team into silence. This role isn't for the faint-hearted, it's for players who treat bruises like trophies and have absolutely no interest in self-preservation. Unlike his Openside twin who flies around the pitch like a caffeine-loaded squirrel, the blindside flanker plays with pure menace. He's there to destroy momentum, win collisions, and let every ball carrier know they're being watched. He usually defends the short side of the field, which is rugby speak for the narrow channel where space is tight and hits are personal. He needs to read the attack, predict danger, and stop it without blinking. He's also expected to carry the ball when his team needs someone to run directly into trouble and come out the other side grinning. Blindside flankers are usually bigger than their Openside brothers. Think of them as the armoured tank next to the attack helicopter. They still move well, but their specialty is blunt force trauma. If a ruck breaks out, they're there first. If a fight breaks out, they're usually the reason. And if there's a high ball contest, they'll leap like they just remembered they played basketball in school. One of the most feared blindsides ever was Jerome Kino. He didn't just make tackles, he folded people. Watching Kino play was like watching a sledgehammer in a black jersey with legs. He hit harder than your Wi-Fi during a storm and never, ever backed down. When the All Blacks needed to intimidate someone, they sent Kino first, and the message always got through. Openside flanker, number 7. Wearing the number 7 shirt is the guy who just doesn't understand the meaning of the word rest. The openside flanker is the player who shows up everywhere all the time without even being invited. His job is to hunt the ball, ruin the other team's day, and make life miserable at every breakdown. He doesn't care about fame or flair. He just wants to get his hands on the ball or rip it from someone else's. This position demands a motor that never stops running, as openside flankers are the first ones into the breakdown and usually the last ones to crawl out. They dive into chaos with zero hesitation, arms swinging, legs pumping, and usually a cut somewhere on the forehead. Their instincts have to be razor sharp because one split second too slow and they're getting steamrolled by a 250-pound forward who skipped leg day only once in his life. And let's talk courage. Opensides throw their bodies into rucks like they lost a bet. They get stepped on, elbowed, twisted, shoved, and somehow still manage to smile about it later. Well, sometimes. Other times, they just tape it up and go again. These players aren't flashy, but they are absolutely vital. They often lead the team in tackles, turnovers, and grass stains. The perfect example is Richie McCaw. He didn't just play openside flanker, he made it an art form. He knew every loophole in the law book and somehow stayed just this side of legal most of the time. He arrived early to every breakdown like he had a second home there. He tackled, stole, supported, and somehow always ended up in the right spot. Nobody mastered the dark arts of the breakdown like McCaw, and if anyone did try, they usually ended up flat on their back. Being an openside isn't for the weak or the lazy, it's for the rugby junkie who can't stop moving and doesn't mind a few bruises for the team. Number 8. Now we've reached the big boss of the back row, the number 8. This player stands tall at the back of the scrum, looking cool while chaos unfolds in front of him. He controls the ball with his feet, which might sound easy until you realise he's doing it while 8 people are trying to collapse the entire scrum on top of him. Still, he calmly decides when to pick it up and go charging into the opposition like it's personal. The number 8 isn't just muscle and size, he's the smooth operator of the pack. He needs hands soft enough to flick a pass under pressure and a brain sharp enough to read the field like a GPS. In tight moments, the team often turns to him to carry the ball and get them out of trouble. He's the momentum builder, the space creator, and sometimes the guy who just trucks over 3 defenders for fun. In defense, he sweeps behind the scrum like a bodyguard for the halfbacks. He plugs gaps, makes tackles, and helps clean up any loose ends. When the backs try something fancy and it all goes wrong, guess who's there to fix it? That's right, the number 8. He doesn't complain. He just gets on with it like a silent hero in a badass movie. Kieran Reid is a name every rugby fan knows for a reason. He had that rare mix of brawn and brains. He could bulldoze through the line 1 minute, then throw a perfect offload the next. He seemed to float around the field like he already knew what was going to happen. Calm in a storm, deadly on the break, and always 2 plays ahead, a great number 8 brings balance to the team. He ties everything together. He leads by action, not noise. When the forwards grind and the backs panic, he stays cool and steady. And when he runs at you full speed, there's not a lot you can do except pray your mouthguard is in tight. How the tight 5 work together. Now that the individual roles are clear, it's time to understand how 5 very large, very sweaty humans become one terrifying force of nature. Let's start with the scrum. This is their pride and joy. The tight 5 is the engine room. Think of the props as the wheels, the hooker as the steering, and the locks as the big diesel engine that won't quit. When the ball goes in, all 5 must engage in perfect harmony. Their body angles, grips, foot placements, and weight transfers need to match with military-level precision. If the Tighthead goes too high or the Loosehead slips, the opposing pack will eat them for breakfast, and not a light breakfast either. Try to imagine 8 men slamming into each other, heads down, knees bent, backs flat, and the only thing holding it together is the tight 5's timing and technique. Sounds easy, but you can bet your favourite pair of jeans that it's not. In fact, it's more like synchronised swimming, except you're underwater in a car crash and someone's elbow is in your ear all at once. If one prop pushes a second too early or the hooker gets overexcited and throws in a foot too fast, the entire scrum could buckle like cheap scaffolding. But scrums aren't the only time the tight 5 get to show off their dark arts. Next up is the line out. Here the hooker becomes a quarterback with a slightly messier haircut. His job is to throw a perfectly straight ball over a forest of arms into the waiting hands of one of his locks who is being launched into the sky like a circus act. And this lift is no joke. The props or flankers are the lifters, and their job is to hoist the jumper with perfect timing and then hold him there for just long enough to snatch the ball and return to earth in one piece. If the hooker's throw is even slightly crooked, the referee blows his whistle like he's just discovered a war crime. If the lifters are off by half a second, the jumper flies sideways or straight into the opposition's hands. Basically, it all has to happen fast, clean, and without so much as a grunt out of place. And they do this while 15 angry men from the other side are trying to ruin it. Then comes the rolling maul, which is just rugby's version of a slow-moving truck crash. Once the jumper lands with the ball, the tight 5 forms a phalanx around him. Shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, they bind tight and drive forward like their lives depend on it. The locks lead the charge, the props anchor the sides, and the hooker tucks in somewhere to make sure the ball stays buried. When it's done well, it looks like a steamroller with bad intentions. When it goes wrong, it's a pile of bodies and a very confused referee trying to figure out who has the ball. And finally, there's the ruck. This is where the tight five turns into a demolition crew. Their job is to clear out defenders, seal the ball, and keep the attacking rhythm flowing. They do it with zero regard for their own safety, smashing into bodies and dragging people out of the way like bouncers at closing time. Simply put, they create a platform where the backs can look pretty, score tries, and take all the credit. The role of the back row in support. The back row might sound like the guys who just tag along at the back of the scrum, but that's like calling an F1 pit crew just tyre changers. The blindside flanker, openside flanker, and number 8 are more like the special forces of the forward pack. They bring order, destruction, and a lot of bruises. They don't quietly join the scrum. They treat it like a trampoline and launch themselves into the next phase without blinking an eye. Let's start with the openside flanker. He's the annoying one who never stops moving. He's at the breakdown before the tackled player even hits the ground. His mission is simple: steal the ball, slow the ball, or smash whoever thinks they can keep the ball. His timing needs to be perfect because one wrong move and it's a penalty. Or worse, a 10-metre march backward while the ref lectures him like a disappointed uncle. Then there's the blindside flanker. Think less speed, more destruction. He's the one flying into rucks with bad intentions and zero concern for personal safety. He loves contact and looks for it like it's a hobby. He hunts ball carriers, hits hard, and makes sure no one gets comfortable in tight spaces. And right in the middle is the number 8. He's the cool head, the link man, and the safety net. He controls the ball at the back of the scrum, chooses when to pick and go, and offers clean carries when things get messy. He's also got to be able to offload, support the backs, and look like he's not even tired. Together, they bring balance. One strikes, one smashes, one guides. If the tight five is the engine, the back row is the fuel system, and without them, the whole machine just stalls. How all 8 operate as one machine. A rugby forward pack is like a chainsaw grinding through a brick wall while the wall fights back. It huffs, it puffs, and occasionally it groans like someone's back just gave out. But when it works, it's beautiful in the ugliest way possible. But good things only happen when all 8 forwards play in complete sync and not just in the let's do this together kind of way. We're talking full-on synchronized chaos. Everyone needs to know where to push, when to pull, when to drive, and when to act like you've still got gas in the tank even though your lungs are screaming for help. For real, these 8 beasts don't just share jerseys and bruises, they share a mission, and that's to beat the other pack into the mud while smiling like nothing happened. Let's start with the scrum. This is where forwards get their moment of glory, or at least their chance to wrestle like angry rhinos in a phone booth. The tight five form the foundation, locking heads and shoulders into position. It's not graceful, it's not glamorous, but it wins games. Meanwhile, the back row stands ready to explode out like caffeinated jackhammers the moment the ball is at the number 8's feet. If everything goes right, it's like a bulldozer that can pass the ball. Now, let's say they get the ball out and start heading up the field. Welcome to exit play mode. This is where planned chaos takes the stage. The tight five clears the runway. They smash into the opposition, clean out defenders, and guard the ball like it's made of gold. The back row picks the gaps, supports the carriers, and sometimes does a bit of everything because they love showing off their work rate. Everyone knows their role, no freelancing allowed. A well-drilled pack is like an orchestra of violence with each note ending in a collision. Then you've got the rolling maul, which is rugby's version of a slow-moving steamroller powered by grown men who are having the time of their lives. The forwards bind together, lean in, and start driving like their lunch depends on it. The trick is to stay low, stay tight, and keep your feet moving while the opposition tries to rip the whole thing apart. If done right, the maul creeps forward, inch by inch, dragging defenders along like flies caught in honey. Defensively, the pack doesn't take a break. There's no tea and biscuit time here. The tight five anchors the center of the line. They hit rucks, make tackles, and form pillars around the breakdown like stone statues with neck tape. The back row fans out, shutting down wide threats and mopping up loose ends. Someone always has their eyes up, reading plays, yelling instructions, and pointing at danger like it's a fire drill. But the real beauty lies in their chemistry. Forwards don't need to talk much. They grunt, nod, maybe growl a little, but they understand and trust each other. If one man goes in, 2 follow. If one man falls, another steps in. It's not always pretty and it rarely smells good, but it works. When all 8 operate together, they don't just make life easier for the backs, they run the show, they decide the speed of the game, where it's played, and how much damage gets done. And when things go sideways, as they often do, the forwards are the ones who throw their bodies into the fire to fix it. Simply put, the forward pack is the soul of the team, wrapped in muscle, mud, and mouth guards. They're not there for style, they're there to get the job done. And when they do it right, everything else falls into place. If you enjoyed this, there's plenty more rugby videos videos in the works, I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.